Hello guys, welcome back to the world of English exams. In this video, we are going to learn how to write a very good report based on the diagram along with the process. So this is what is called as a combinational report, wherein you will see two different types of infographics. For example, it can be a bar chart along with a pie chart, or it can be a bar chart along with a line graph, or it can also be a life cycle along with a process. So this is one very good example of report where you can use a wide range of vocabulary which are related to a particular type of report. So without any further delay, let's start today's video. And we are going to start with the overview. Then we are going to see what are the essential tips that you need to follow while writing this kind of report. Then we are going to also learn with the help of an example as to how to write a report if you find this type of question in the main exam. So let's check the video. Okay, so this basically is the overview of the Ielts writing test, in which there are two different modules. The first one is the academic module and the second one is the general training module. Irrespective of the type of tests, the candidates have to write two different tasks. The first one is called task 1 and the second one is task 2. So there is no difference in task 2. It is an essay for both the academic module test takers as well as the general training test takers. However, the topic will be different, but task 2 remains the same. That is, they have to write an essay. If you clearly see, there is a difference between the task 1. Then for academic students, the task 1 would be a report, whereas in the case of a general training test, task 1 would be a letter. So both the tasks must be attempted in order to get a good score, and 33% of the score is based on task 1 and 66% is based on task 2. So you will be given approximately 20 minutes to complete the first task, that is report in this case. However, the time division is according to you. So it is as per your discretion. You can actually take more time to write task 1, and maybe, or you can equally divide the time for 30 minutes and 30 minutes. Ideally, what I would suggest is, since you have to write a very short and brief report, please do not take more time to write this. 15 minutes to 20 minutes will be more than sufficient if you follow the right approach and if you have a clear-cut plan in your mind. Then all you have to do is look for the topic related vocabulary, highlight the significant points and start writing. So we shall start with some tips like that, and there are three different things that you have to do while writing a report. So what should you do? The first thing, write a short report of 150 words. So the minimum word limit is 150. Now, irrespective of the type of infograph that you see, you have to ensure that a minimum of 150 words are written. You may exceed this word limit and aim for a word count between 180 to 200, but do not exceed that. So minimum is 150, and those reports which are underlined will definitely receive a penalty. So then what are the three things that I was talking about? The first thing that you have to do is summarizing the main features. So you have to summarize the main features. Here the meaning of summary is that you have to select the relevant points and omit the unrelated or irrelevant points or extra additional details. So all you have to do is to form a gist of what you see in the form of a report. Then the second one, making comparisons wherever relevant. This is a very important step. Wherever if you feel that there has to be a comparison or a contrast or any significant difference that you see, you have to go ahead and highlight that in the form of a paragraph or maybe a sentence. It has to be very, very precise. Now at this point of time, let me tell you that when you write a report, make sure that you are writing it in such a way that the reader is clearly able to understand it even when he or she is not looking at the question. So it should be self-explanatory. That is only possible by these three steps: when you summarize it, when you make comparisons wherever they are relevant, and interpreting the graph. So the third step is interpretation of the graph, which means you are decoding what is the infograph telling you and you are representing it in the form of paragraphs only. remember this point specifically, do not separate the content into bullet points or separate sentences. Always group them into paragraphs, because this is called cohesion. If you're missing out on that, then definitely the score will be lower, because there are something called task band descriptors. So there are 4 band descriptors, and I have already made a video regarding the band descriptors. I am going to give the link in the description box, so do check that out, and you will understand what is the importance of these grading criteria and how exactly your reports will be marked. So now, having understood this, let's recapitulate. The 3 things that you need to ensure while writing a report are: you need to summarize, then you need to make comparisons, and you need to interpret the given data in the form of a graph or a table or a process. Now let's see what are the various kinds of questions that you have to prepare before attempting the main test. So the different types of reports which you have to prepare for the test are bar chart, pie chart, line graph, table, map, life cycle, flow chart, or combinations. So today's video is going to deal with combinations, one of the types of combinations. Very soon we are going to release videos which are related to other types of combinations as well. So do check out our channel, World of English Exams. Okay, so now having said the introduction, and I hope you understood the overall view of what the writing task 1 actually deals with. Now let's see how to write it. For that you require a structure. So we are going to see the step-by-step structure of how to write a report. Now this is essentially the structure that needs to be followed. The report should be divided into 3 or 4 paragraphs. Sometimes it may also extend to 5 paragraphs. The first paragraph is called the introduction. This is a very important one. In the introduction, you have to write 1 or 2 statements. I repeat, in the introduction, you have to write just 1 or 2 statements. Now, what exactly are those statements? They are nothing but the paraphrase of the title. So, each and every report question will have a title. All you have to do is rewrite the title in your own words without changing its meaning. Rewrite the given title in your own words without altering or modifying its meaning. That is called paraphrasing, and it is an essential skill for the Ielts test. So, and after that, if you see any units of measurement such as kilograms or maybe centimeters or percentages or something like that, you have to represent them. So, what are the significant things to represent in the introduction? The first thing is to paraphrase the title. The second one is, if you see any units, you have to mention them. Now, after writing the introduction, it is not advisable to skip this paragraph, which is called the overview. It is like the heart of the report. It is very important. Do not skip it at any cost. Now, what is the meaning of overview? Overview means a summary, a gist of what you see. An overview of the significant features that you can highlight as and when you look at the infograph. In simple, what I would say is you have to indicate the highest point and the lowest point without actually touching the values. Do not include any statistics in this paragraph, guys. So, when you are writing the overview for a pictograph like this, so let's say there is a process and there is a life cycle. Of course, there are no units of measurement, and the overview will not contain any values other than number of days for the process to complete or the life cycle to complete. Then in the overview, you don't need to mention all the stages of the life cycle or all the stages of the process. All you need to do is highlight how many stages are there, and maybe you can also indicate the first stage and the last stage briefly, so that the reader is getting an idea that you have understood what the infograph has to say. Now, this is the overview. Do not extend the overview beyond 2 to 3 sentences because you are not explaining everything in detail. You are just summarizing the main facts. After that, you should search for the most significant details to describe the report. For that, you need to group the similar features and the differences, or you have to categorize it depending on the variable features whatever you see on the graph. In this combination type of report, let's go back to the title and see what the report is actually about. So I have clearly mentioned that it is life cycle plus process. So here you don't need to worry about how to write the body paragraphs. You can directly describe the life cycle in one body paragraph, and you can write about the flow chart in the other. So life cycle in the first body paragraph, flow chart in the second. It is as simple as that. So the structure do not need to be the structures need not be very descriptive. All you have to do is write a brief and precise report of 180 to 190 words or something like that, but the minimum word count is 150. So if you clearly observe, there is no conclusion written. Can you see any conclusion? No, right? So it is always better to avoid writing a conclusion when you are writing a report. I am telling this because in the overview anyway you are highlighting the significant points. So there is no necessity for you to write the conclusion separately. Then the second thing to avoid is giving your opinion. Please reserve that for the essay. Do not give your opinion in the case of a report, because all the question asks you to do is to summarize the contents briefly. You are not supposed to be giving any sort of prediction or suggestions or opinions, etc. So make sure that you follow the structure of introduction, overview and body paragraphs. Now let's see how this combinational figure looks like. So this is how this is what you will find. Then this is the question, which reads, you should spend about 20 minutes on this task. Then the diagrams below show the life cycle of the silkworm and the stages in the production of silk cloth. So first they are elucidating the life cycle of silkworm in the form of a picture. Then they are illustrating the process of production of silk cloth. So both are interrelated. First one is a natural process, then the second one is a man-made process. The first one is a cyclic process which can repeat multiple times. Then the second one is a linear process which is man-made, so it is done step by step or stage by stage. So this is what we infer from that. Then what do we need to do? As we already discussed, we have to summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons wherever relevant. So this is what the question says. The second statement, that is, summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. This is a common statement for all the report questions. And the next statement also, write at least 150 words. Even this is a common instruction which is given to you. Now I know that when you are looking at it like this, it is pretty confusing because you are not able to interpret the diagram and the process clearly. For that purpose, let us take 3 or 4 minutes to actually interpret and categorize and highlight whatever we can see. Let us try to understand what this life cycle is about and what this flow chart is about. Okay, so first let me highlight the life cycle. As you can see, the life cycle is clearly divided into 4 stages and they are numbered. The first one you can see towards the right is eggs. The first stage is where the adult moth would lay an egg or multiple eggs. Then what is happening in the second stage? The eggs are taking around 10 days to hatch into the larval forms. As you can see, there are multiple larvae which feed on mulberry leaves. So here under mulberry leaves you can see food, which means the larval forms are feeding on mulberry leaves. And after they feed voraciously, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks for them to actually spin a silk thread around their bodies, and this is what is called cocoon. So if this cocoon is going to take around 3 to 8 days to form completely, and in the final stage the adult silk moths are going to emerge after 16 days. So roughly you can write it as a fortnight because it is 15 days. So this is 16 days. So if you want, you can actually retain the number of days like that, or you may go ahead and paraphrase it. So what are the 4 stages we see? Egg, larva, pupa or cocoon stage, and adult moth. So these are the 4 stages. And as you can see, from the adult stage, again the process, the cycle is continuous, because it is a natural process which happens. Then where does this production of silk cloth start from? The production of silk cloth begins by selecting the cocoons. So as you can see, the figure here clearly shows the first stage is selection. So selection of cocoons. Then the second stage is where the cocoons are boiled in water, and due to this stage, or due to this process of boiling, the cocoons will start unwinding, and this unwound thread will extend to a length of 300 to 900 meters. Then such threads are twisted in the next stage, maybe for giving it more strength. The individual threads are then twisted together, and then they are weaved into a cloth and dyed. So appropriate color is applied, or this process is called dyeing. So these are the various stages. It starts from selection of cocoons till the dyeing process. So how many stages are there? Selection, boiling, unwinding, twisting, weaving and dyeing. So totally there are 6 stages, whereas in the life cycle there are 4 stages. So you can, if you want, in the overview you can go ahead and represent this data. And you can tell that the life cycle is going to begin with laying the eggs, and it's going to complete with the emergence of an adult moth. But before the moths emerge from the cocoon, we have to select them. Otherwise, the cocoons are going to break open, and we are not going to get the silk thread. Then the selection of cocoons is the first stage in the production process, and the process ends by weaving and dyeing the fabric. So now let's see how to follow the structure that we have learned, that is introduction, overview and body paragraphs with the help of these diagrams. And first, what did I tell you? We have to write the introduction, in which I am going to paraphrase the title of the question. So what is the question telling us? The diagrams below show the life cycle of the silkworm and the stages in the production of silk cloth. So now let us rewrite the given sentence in our own words like this. The figure illustrates the life cycle of a silkworm, and the given flowchart represents the process of producing silk cloth. So as you can see, I have not changed the meaning, but I have used synonyms to describe whatever this sentence means to say. Now in the overview, what did I tell you? In the overview you should not write any descriptive things. All you have to do is highlight the significant features like this. So always start the overview paragraph with the introductory phrase overall. This is a very important thing. If you write the word overall, then you're clearly indicating to the reader that you have started the overview passage. Okay, next, overall there are 4 main stages in the life cycle of a silkworm, from eggs to adult moths. Then the process of producing silk consists of 6 stages, starting from selecting the cocoons to weaving the fabric and dyeing it. So that is what we have interpreted, isn't it? So now, while writing the first body paragraph, it is very important to group and note all the data. If you can see, in the overview paragraph, I did not highlight any any internal stages like larva or cocoon formation. Then I did not highlight the duration taken from one stage to another stage. So all that should be described in detail in the body paragraph. So the first stage takes about 10 days to complete, and in the second stage it's going to take about 4 to 6 weeks for the larval forms to feed and develop a cocoon. Then this cocoon is made up of silk thread, and for the complete cocoons to be formed, it will take approximately 1 week, that is 3 to 8 days. Then the final stage takes 16 days, and after that the adult worm or adult moth is going to emerge. Now let's see how to write that. You need to use these continuing words like next stage, in the following stage, subsequently, following this, like that. So let's see how to write it. The first stage in the life cycle of a silkworm begins by laying eggs, which would take around 10 days to hatch. The next stage is, so this is a proper connection. The next stage is where the larvae feed on mulberry leaves. Then in 4 to 6 weeks, the larval forms get covered with the silk thread, and in 3 to 8 days, the cocoons are formed. The final stage in the life cycle is the emergence of adult moths after 16 days, and the cycle continues. So have you seen how neatly it is described? So you have to follow such a sentence formation in order to score high in the writing test. So now we have finished how to describe the life cycle. So why don't you go ahead and try the same? Please grab a paper. I will give you 3 minutes of time to rewrite the same thing in your own words, and your time begins now. One minute is up. You have 2 minutes more to write the body paragraph. Okay, you have 1 more minute to complete it. Thirty seconds more. Fine. So isn't that easy to write the body paragraph? So if at all you understand it properly, then it is very much easy to write it. Now in the similar way, let's also learn how to write the second body paragraph, that is producing the silk cloth. Okay, then for the production of silk cloth, the first stage is selecting the cocoons. These are boiled in water, which helps in unwinding the thread. Each thread is 300 to 900 meters long. The strands are then twisted together, and in the last two stages, these are weaved and dyed. So this is much simpler because it is a flow chart and it is a man-made process. So what did we do? We have first analyzed that the first stage is selecting the cocoons. The second one is boiling them in water where they will unwind, and then they are twisted, weaved and dyed. So this is how you write it, briefly describing the entire process, so that even if the other person is unable to see the diagram, they should be very comfortable in understanding. Okay, so again I will give you 3 minutes to complete writing this, and you can see this figure and start writing. You may also comment in the given space below, and I would be more than happy to evaluate it. Start. 2 more minutes to complete it. You have 1 more minute. Okay, so that is how you write it. I hope all of you might have written two wonderful body paragraphs, and you can leave a comment in the comment section below. So this is how the report has to look. I hope this video was useful for you. So if at all you found this video useful, do like it, share it with all your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel World of English Exams. So till I see you with another video, happy preparation guys, and stay tuned to our channel.